everyone, and welcome. You have before you a copy of tonight's agenda for the Standing Committee Council for August 15th, 2024. 2024. I'm going to call the meeting to order. And looking to adopt the agenda, we do have an addition to the agenda. I'm going to add it under 6F, an excused absence for Deputy Mayor Gillis. Looking for a motion to adopt the agenda. Motion by Councillor Chambers, seconded by Councillor Dufert. Any questions to the motion? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item number 3, any declarations of interest? I will be declaring conflict on item 6E as I am part owner in the disposal. So no other declarations. Moving on to item number 4, and Mr. Ward family presentation. So I'm going to start off. I had the honor of attending the employee appreciation barbecue this afternoon, and our SAO did a really nice job of thanking his employees. I spoke on behalf of myself and council. But yeah, it's nice to, it's unfortunate we can't spend more time with the guys, the boots on the ground. But yeah, again, I want to reiterate there, that not everything's shiny and bright, but they do a lot of work that people don't realize how much is going on behind the scenes. So again, thank them for all they do for us. Anything from council? Councilor Bouchard, go ahead.
Yeah, this weekend we had a good event at the golf course. It was our Barnes Memorial Golf Tournament that was hosted by his family and stuff. So raised a little funds for some more funds for the greens and stuff. It was a good event. There was 18 teams for full contingent, and then they did a little memorial thing after that in the evening. So yeah, a bunch of his family came in from Saskatchewan and stuff. So yeah, someone's in town for first time I was getting permits. So yeah, it was a good event out there.
Anything further from council? Go ahead, Councilor.
Thank you, Lisa. I'd just like to give a little shout out to all the volunteers that put on a really nice jamboree out in Enterprise. It was the first one after the devastating fire last year, so it was kind of nice, and it had an excellent turnout, and just kudos to all the volunteers.
And Ms. Dufert was bringing the heat.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything further from council? Administration.
No, Your Worship. Thanks.
Thank you. So item number 5, we'll move on to administration inquiries. Pass it over to SCO Smith.
Thanks, Your Worship. And good evening, council. Good to be back. I was gone on a couple weeks of vacation there, but thanks to our assistant SAO for the coverage, and I think you had one council meeting while I was away. But things are keep on rolling, of course. I'm just going to give a brief update for each department. I'll pause in between each just to see if there's any questions in that area. So finance and administration. So key thing right now is that we executed our engagement agreement with Ashton Chartered Accountants for our 2023 financial audit services. That audit is actually starting later this week. Finance Committee and Council might remember that we completed our 2022 audit recently as well. So we expect it to move fairly quickly, get that done a little behind schedule, but we'll get that done with this council. Also, we've had some project kickoff meetings for the migration of our financial accounting system to the cloud. So that migration is scheduled to be completed in September. It's one of our critical information systems, but that's going to help improve business continuity and disaster recovery type situations and risks with it, allowing us to work remotely as well. So it's good to get that up there. We're now quite safe position with all of our information systems for redundancy and backups and flexibility in working wherever we might be. Any finance-related questions from council? Thank you. For protective services, been busy as per usual. Kind of keeping an eye on monitoring our wildfires in the South Slave areas. While there's no significant risk to the community, especially with the natural burn that's occurred last year, there's lots of smoke interruption to highway services, which was noted last night today. They had high winds pushing fire from the west, leading to closures. I was just talking to residents. There's been lots of cabins impacted in that area with the fires flaring up, KFN cabins, other cabins. So it's unfortunate. So no risk to this area right now, but we're just keeping on top of things. Same with the Kikisa fire. We have had Rocky Mountain Phoenix was recently in town here. They tested and passed, tested all our fire equipment and apparatus. Everything passed on the pumps. We did support, or the Protective Services did support the Enterprise Jamboree, providing first aid medic and a visit from Sparky for the kids this weekend. We also supplied, a recreation department supplied tables and some chairs and such. So happy to support that event. I've heard a lot of positives coming out of it from our neighbors. There was a house fire last Friday in the mobile home park that Hay River Fire Department responded to, assisted by contractors and Rose Construction. Yeah, a long day of fighting that fire, some damage to the property next to it. So we do, note that loss. But again, today, another fire in the mobile home park that we responded to. It seems like a little less structural damage, but damage to another home, which seems to be fairly significant. Any questions for Protective Services?
Go ahead, Councilor Boucher.
Not really a question, just a comment. I think NWT Fire seems to be responding to, they must be watching people on Facebook and stuff, because anytime people had concerns, they've been kind of trying to calm people's nerves, especially in the Enterprise River, where I've seen some comments that are just, that we have a natural burn protecting us, but, yeah. Good to see they're following the public's concerns, and everyone's still on edge, I guess, for sure.
Councilor Wong.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just, I had a couple citizens ask me that this week, since I've been back, if there's more calls. It seems like there's more ambulance and fire, and it just seems like there's more things going on. Is that the case? Or do I have to wait for the director? I didn't see any numbers in the packet.
They were not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'll wait, thank you.
speak to that, or I guess both questions. To start first with Councilor Bouchard, I think that's what administration has noticed, strong improvements both with communication from ECC, NWT Fire. Also responses seem to be quite a bit quicker this year. We've got a couple of fires like the Border and Kikisa, which are quite large, but all in all, throughout the summer, seems quite positive. In terms of ambulance fire responses, our last report, which was in 2 weeks ago while I was away, and that report to council, numbers are actually slightly down for that time of year, and actually with our budget numbers for revenues as well. But our anticipation was that we would see, as we typically do this time of year, some increases in call volume. So probably more normal, but as you're aware, the last few years have been quite a bit above historical normals, and taken some steps through council to help increase budgets to try to manage that this year, in addition to all the emergency management, recovery planning services, et cetera, that's been tied into that department. Bylaw as well, very busy. We do have a vacancy right now in that bylaw, municipal bylaw enforcement officer position, but we are still continuing to prioritize, especially beautification and unsightly bylaws right now.
Thank you. Any further questions from council? Noted back to Councilor.
Thanks, Your Worship. For Public Works and Services, I'll start with Paradise Road. So the wildfire and flood remediation work is ongoing out there. We've had some issues with our hydro seed effectiveness, I'll say. Really challenges with the extreme heat conditions and lack of good precipitation there. We've had to adopt the watering program. It's been going for the last few weeks, I've been told, Tuesdays and Fridays. And really working with our contractor, a local contractor that we've used for the application and some of the technical considerations with it. So we're evaluating it now. It's not looking as strong as we would have liked to. So we're evaluating it, meeting with the contractor, and we'll look at options for moving forward. Also, an arborist will be on site this month out there to assess some of the tree removal in right-of-ways and other areas as we're trying to secure funding from MACA for that cleanup. So a lot of what MACA is supporting now is it's tied to public safety. And so that arborist has been lined up, been working with MACA to get them out there so that we can get moving on that cleanup, but also hopefully get it paid for by a third party. Similar out at Lagoon Road area, which has been impacted by the fire, and the Lagoon outflow system. It's being assessed by that same arborist as we look to clean up that area. We have done some work stemming back to last year with cleanup around the right-of-ways in that airport road, but more work identified, more cost, and hopeful that through NACA's assistance that we'll get those areas covered without impact to this taxpayer group. We're doing the sidewalk panel replacements around town. You may see some of the forming, so it's been good. We've struggled to get that work really completed in I don't know how many years, but trying to get out for working with tendering and contracting, but we're doing stuff in-house now on some of the high priority areas. Also good to see through our vegetation management program more town easements that are being kind of picked away at this year and within the last couple of weeks. We are working on a bigger plan rolling into next year in consideration of budget just to help catch up on some of those outstanding easements that really haven't been maintained in years. But some progress this year now, which is good. The West Channel berm phase 1 construction, which is the Alaska Road section, is the tender's been awarded and construction starting at the end of this month, and actually plan to have that phase completed this year. So we're working quite closely with West Point First Nation on that because it is impacting the residential area there. Also, new solid waste facility site selection. This past week we've been engaged with Stantec on next steps towards assessing feasibility of the identified potential sites that have come out of other studies, including a more recent desktop study. Need to go through the next steps of land access. Council will know we've done work with MOUs with some of the Indigenous governments as land access is very challenging, but we do have some support there, and through this work we'll get our next steps towards getting that site applied for because we don't have title, and going into more feasibility. Similar with the cemetery, we're close to end of life there with capacity concerns. So we are exploring the option of, pardon, that was a bad pun perhaps, but I apologize for that. Options for expansion of the current cemetery. So it is, we did see some flooding and some flood risks there. So certainly if there is any expansion which had been planned by prior councils, we will need to consider flood mitigation. We've talked to landowners in the area as well about potential acquisitions, but more than likely we'll need to consider long-term planning for another site for the cemetery, but hopefully we can get several more years out of the current site. Aspen Heights, as part of our housing land development plans, we are prepared to go out for expression of interest for housing development in that area. Documentation's been put together, and what we want to next do is just bring it to council ahead of going forward with promoting that. Sorry, a couple other notes for Public Works. One around the water treatment plant fencing. So you may recall that we did a lot of work to, with last year's fire, to fire smart the water treatment plant. With that, it kind of loosened up some of the access to the facility. So this week now we've got the fencing reinstated around the facility to protect it. And yeah, I think that's it. Lots of other projects and maintenance work going on, but any questions around public works?
Councilor Bouchard, go ahead.
Well, just at Paradise, you talked about the hydro seeding, and it's been since in a couple weeks since, and I've never been there since the fire, since the flood. A lot of undercutting in the bank, and I know we've talked about it at NWTHC about all the different communities that have seen erosion issues. I'm just wondering if do we have any kind of looking at any long-term plans to stabilize that bank at all? Like, I know in Simpson they were talking, they should have done it a long time ago, some sheet piling or something like that, that might keep some of that stuff, at bay, I guess.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, a few areas in town outside of Paradise, including Golf Course Road is another one that we've had some more erosion concerns coming out of the last big flood event. So we have been approaching MACA and other departments to try to cover the costs associated with the bank stability assessment for Paradise. It's been a little more difficult than we anticipated. So far they haven't stepped up, but we have put it into our planning activity to get it done somehow. So if we have to do it internally, we'll take that step. But just trying to get someone else to pay for the cost.
Thank you. Any further from council? Oh, Councilor Welch.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I
I know, I'm starting to get feel lonely over here. Anyway, I appreciate the SAO's update on Paradise. I did get some concerns raised last week. I drove out there last Friday, I believe, to have a look, and, yeah, clearly, I'm not sure if it's a water issue, a heat issue, or how this mulch, which now at this point is almost like clay, was put down, but I'm happy to see that we're going to be doing some work to see if we can establish what went wrong, and I'm not sure if there is a longer-term plan of what to do, but I appreciate that the SAO is at least doing that work to understand what happened and what we can do to sort of rectify it going forward. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Perhaps, yes, yes.
Okay, a few things on recreation. One, good news is we've received confirmation of summer cap funding for 3 projects. Council may recall with the GNWT's latest budget and their in-depth look, I guess, at where they could find cost savings and the delays tied to that. What we initially heard on the table was that CAP program may be cut, but I think thanks to some of our lobbying from this council and discussions with ministers, it was brought back to the table. So that's typically hundreds of thousands of dollars that we've accessed yearly to support capital programs, primarily tied to this access to recreation. So 3 projects that have been approved are the chip sealing of Hoffman Way, which is out at the golf course, the paving of a trail segment by the Tri-Service Park, and continuation type funding for the Port Landing Marina upgrades that are ongoing. However, as I mentioned, notices are coming out very late because of the budget delays from the GNWT, and we're seeing this in multiple areas, and uncertainty on what programs are still active or what has changed. But with this one, yeah, good news that it's back. The bad news is we're just getting notice in mid-August, and we're finding like it's just becoming so difficult even to take on small maintenance projects in 1 year. You get your funding, the funding's good for 1 year, in this case for the summer essentially. Finding contractors, getting your work lined up, it's taking a year at least to do that. So we're going to try, but the late notice is going to have some difficulty in completing probably the majority of those projects. So we'll work with Public Works internally and our funder to determine if we can complete or possibly reallocate to other planned work if needed. preparing to tender for elements of our Vale Island Recreation Park enhancements. That one's received funding from ICIP and I believe another funder. But anyways, that one's now getting underway for tendering for that work. The Bob McMeekin enhancement work has been ongoing. Another project there where we've done a combination of vegetation installation, including hydroseed. A little easier for us to maintain it there and apply water. Things are looking more positive, I'd say, with it. We have different species. Paradise is more drought-resistant seeds, apparently through our contractor, and different type of seed in this case. But some of this is a bit of a trial and learn. But anyways, this the ballpark is going well, and the Bob McMeekin Park project's going well, and we plan to wrap up that project this construction season. We will be advertising soon. I think the intent is this week for the Participaction Community Celebration, and that one will be in recognition of course, the $100,000 in the national award that we won as a community, and receiving funding as well to support a recognition event. I think Participaction may be sending people actually to attend the event. So at that, more details to follow, I guess, on dates and details of it, but also we hope to, at that point, announce what we're doing to disperse the $100,000 worth of funding received. We'll be coming to council, the rec committee, et cetera, with the recommendation on how to proceed there. A note on the accessibility grant that's been submitted through that department. So we've submitted an application to support the Ray Benoit Park upgrades and some of our playground fall zone upgrades. All of these are within your planning documents, but seeking funding to support moving forward with them. So we'll cross our fingers on this grant that's been submitted. And also our Parks and Green Space Master Plan, that's been through some reviews internally, and we expect to have that plan coming to council for this term of council. And now starting, we're busy with summer work, but we're also planning and underway for our shoulder season and start of the ice season. So tentatively, we booked or planning for an October 7th start to the ice season. So Simcoe has already been scheduled to come in and do the plant startup for those dates. Any questions around recreation?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to make sure I understood this correctly. So the funding for those number of projects is back on the table. Is that inclusive of the funding that we anticipated to receive for summer hires and then found out wasn't? So is that program back on the table as well, or are we going to be eating the $200,000?
Yeah, I had a bit of an update on that from my update underneath me. Anyways, we presented to last council just our concerns, our last council meeting, the indication that Education, Culture, and Employment has decided to remove essentially the tax-based communities from that program. So that comes as a shock to us and comes late into the season. Typically, we'd know in March or April 1st type budgets, but we just received notice this month. So we usually know prior to our hiring summer students and such. So we use that program. I think it's called the Small Communities Employment Support Program to fund a lot of our summer students. But we did issue a letter on council's letterhead last week, citing our concerns to the minister and asking for consideration of reinstatement of the program until that could be more thoroughly reviewed. And yeah, no indication that was going to occur. So we're still waiting for a response from the minister on it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from council? Back to Sarah.
Thanks. A couple things in tourism business development and underneath the assistant SAO. Our asset management system implementation is their focus right now, or Patrick's focus. Working on change change management and training activities for the system use, and currently targeting a go-live for the Recreation Department this fall. Also, we received a party that was interested, actually from out of town, in setting up a taxi company. We've been working with another protective proponent on a taxi company startup for the last few months, including working with ITI, just recognizing that it's a concern for many organizations and governments within the community of not having a taxi company operating. But our ASAO is working with them to see how we can try to assist them in setting up operations. So far, their biggest bottleneck has been around finding housing, which is, a common theme for many organizations. Also a note that the Fisherman's Wharf Pavilion had a bit of a facelift over the last couple of weeks, supported by our tourism division. Building trim and boats have been stained and repainted, and we're undertaking some updates to the electrical systems on the food vendor booths. Pause to see if there's any questions there.
Any questions from council?
Okay, a few things from me that have continued on while I was away recently, but this week we received a revised draft of the Healthy Communities background report and strategy. That's going to be circulated to the Healthy Communities Committee this week for final comments ahead of bringing back to the public and council, likely in September for final approval of that plan. A draft residential development grant policy has been developed by administration. So this is the grant policy that will be used to incentivize housing development in alignment with strategies of our Hay River Community Housing Plan, and is supported through the funding agreement that we executed this year for $2 million with CMHC. CMHC is reviewing that policy, which we will plan to bring to the Bylaw and Policy Committee hopefully next week, and then Council by the end of August. And then we'll start implementing this as some of the incentives for those types of developments. There's been a fair amount of media stories on the CN rail discontinuance. Again, it's kind of been, it's been in the media for a couple months, but it's resurged now. Seems to be getting a bit more national attention. As you're aware, we've been lobbying and meeting with different groups, including the Rail Advocacy Alliance, meeting with ministers, meeting with MLAs, trying to meet with CN, but many letters have been issued by us and other parties that we've been connected with. Continuing to support the coordination of those meetings with those departments in industry and agencies in hopes to reverse that decision, and expect several meetings and letters in the coming weeks to continue along those lines. I met with members of Red Cross recovery team today who are in town for the week. They're offering recovery support services to primarily Enterprise residents that are impacted, but also Hay River residents. Those that have been impacted by the 2023 fires. It's just other additional support services that they can provide to people that have been impacted. So we've shared program information, but residents are able to set up meetings with the Red Cross to discuss their programs and how they might be able to support them. I hear they met with health. I think maybe Councillor Willows and his role with the Health Authority as well today. And an internal essential employees administration policy has been drafted to outline our expectations for internal staffing for leave and pay compensation during emergency events such as evacuations. So that's just going to help ensure staff are available to support local emergencies and ensure business continuity and outline compensation options available. And as the Mayor mentioned at the start, we did today hold an employee recognition barbecue just at lunch hour over at our Public Works garage. And an opportunity to give thanks to the many summer students. I think we have over 15 that support our seasonal maintenance as well just to recognize the achievements of staff this year. We thank the Mayor for attending. Any questions in my area.
Any questions for us there? Go ahead. Sure.
Just, we, contacted the GNFT, there's still a few people that are still reeling and, recovering from the flood. And I guess, have we gotten any kind of update from them on how many clients they still have that are still trying to complete the flood recovery projects as well as, I mean, the wildfire as well, I think, but, like, there is some that are, that's getting to be 3 years now, and I know their deadline is at the end Christmas time type thing, so just so that we know, there's probably some people that are still trying to finish up, getting back to normal.
I think that's why we have problems finding contractors and such, but, yeah, there's a confidentiality issue there, so we might be able to get the number. I don't know if they will have some, but Catherine who's affected.
Yeah, I don't want numbers, or I don't want individuals, just, do we have some people that are looking for extensions? Is there people that are, gonna be outside of that January 1 completion date, I guess?
Yes, ma'am?
Yeah, we met a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, with MACA ministers and staff. Don't quote me on it. I can certainly go out and get some statistics. It's not managed by us, but I seem to recall, maybe it's going back a couple of months at least, that there's a number of, like, 50% of the claims still open.
Wow.
I may have been ahead of the construction season, and some of it may have been tied to, procedural type of work and just wrapping those up. But we notice it from some various levels of ties, whether it's seniors tax relief or people that are in multiple homes, transitioning, trying to determine what their primary residence is and things like that. Excuse me, but yeah, I expect we've actually we're going to reach out to MACA just to talk to their pathfinders, so that we can understand with some of our policies how it might be applied. But our understanding is the same, is that program ends this year. So if there's plans for extensions or needs for extensions, what does that look like? We'll circle back with some numbers, email that to council.
Thank you. Any further questions from council for Isaiah? None noted. Move on to item new business. 6A, the Public Works Monthly Report for July 2024. Motion to approve. Councilor Dufert, seconded by Councilor Chambers. Any questions for the motion? Go ahead, Councilor Dufert.
Sorry, just on the permits, there was
I saw the same.
331 Parkdale Avenue North. I'm not sure where that is.
Where is that? Yeah.
I thought I knew every address in town because I did phone Google everywhere, so.
Page 5.
Parkdale, 331.
331 Parkdale Ave North. I don't think that's correct. Signage permit, maybe it's a new address.
Oh, I suspect that may be the company address. We had received a permit for signage for where the Royal Bank is. They're replacing the awning there, and there was, some debate on that. So I'll verify that.
It's not a bird or
but it's not very often. Not very often we see signage permits, so I suspect I think Rose owns that building, and it probably came through their designer.
Yeah, that's fine. It's a different location. I didn't understand where it was.
See, we're all reading it. Okay, no further questions. Agree to take forward? Agreed. Thank you. 6B, Tourism Economic Development Report for July 2024. Looking for a motion, Councilor Willow.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Council of the Town of Hay River accepts the Tourism and Economic Development Report for the month of July 2024.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilor Chambers. Any questions for the motion? None noted. Agreed to take forward? Agreed. Thank you. Item 6B, Municipal Enforcement Monthly Report for July 2024. Looking for a motion. Go ahead, Councilor Wall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the motion that the Council of the Town of Hay River accepts the Municipal Enforcement Report for July 2024 as presented.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilor Bouchard. Any questions to the motion? Agreed to take forward?
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 6B, Recreation Recreation and Community Monthly Report for July 2024. Go ahead, Councilor Boucher.
Just like you wish, I move that the Council of Town of Haver accepts the report entitled Recreation and Community Services Monthly Report for July 2024 as presented.
Okay, seconded by Councilor Duper. Any questions? Agreed to take forward? Agreed. Okay, so item 6E, I have declared conflict, so I'm going to ask Councilor Willis to take the chair.
Thank you. Brings us to item E, the waste collection contract. We get a motion to take this forward. Moved by Councilor Duford, seconded by Councilor Chambers. All agreed to take forward? Agreed. Is that unanimous?
Don't forget, you got Jeff on the phone too.
Yeah,
Any questions?
I just have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How does this contract compare to the last contract in terms of funding?
Like, as in, like, the annual dollar amount?
Yeah, like the total amount.
Sure, so, the last contract with the, well, in the contract that we're kind of operating on those terms now for the Hay River disposals was for solid waste collection and landfill management. So it was kind of a merged agreement. We went out for requests for proposals, as outlined in the report. In 2022, made a decision so the two proposals, the one we made a decision to move the solid waste facility management in-house. So we didn't go forward. We thought there was more value returned through the analysis based on the numbers submitted through the one proponent that was received. So the garbage collection services right now with this new proposed contract is about $80,000 less than the combined services of the past contract. So again, it's a little bit difficult because it was for two services before, and part of that the operator used to get tipping fees as well, which they no longer do. So that was part of the revenue that they received to cover costs. But yeah, we've brought this forward to the Finance Committee. There's been analysis and work through it. We had the opportunity to negotiate because there was only one proponent. So the amounts are in alignment, I'd say, with the amount submitted through the proposal. What else? We did get the inclusion, it's again noted in the report, but trying to move towards automated bin pickup, so reducing staff and reducing costs associated with waste collection. The proponent is agreeing to pay for the bin, the cost of deploying the bins. I think there's like 1,400 bins that would need to be deployed. So, yeah. Anyways, as a budget, it's lower than what we currently are budgeting and paying for about $80,000 per year.
Any other questions? Agreed to take forward?
Agreed.
Check with Jeff.
Thank you.
Jeff, are you still
Oh,
there?
Jeff, are you still there?
Yeah, still here.
Yeah, sorry about that, Jeff. I forgot you were on the phone.
Yeah, no,
Did you have
no worries.
questions with regard- Did you have any questions with regard to this?
No, I got all the information I needed. Thank you.
And you're agreed to take forward?
Agreed.
Okay. Thank you all.
You want to share the next item?
Okay, sure, why not? Item number F, motion?
Oh, see that.
Yeah. Yeah, accept. I'll move that the Council of Town of Haver excuses Councilor or Deputy Mayor Stowey from the Standing Committee of Council Tuesday, August 13th of 2024.
Seconded. Seconded by Councillor Dupert. And with that, I will turn it back to the mayor, who has returned to the chair. I was under duress, I'm letting you know.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 7, notices of motion, there being none. Moving on to item number 8, in camera. I don't believe there's anything tonight. So that takes us back to number 9, Councilor Wall.
Just in time.
Okay.
I move to adjourn.